Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Paramount City Council meeting for November 2nd. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our attorney, John Kavanaugh, to give us an update on our closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The City Council did conduct an authorized closed session under the Government Code, Section 54957. The topic was threat to public facilities. A presentation for preparation was presented by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the Disaster Management Area Coordinator to the City Council, the City Attorney, and management staff. At this point, Madam Mayor, there is no information to report at this time as a result of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh. Okay, so we will go ahead again and call to order the meeting. We will go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance by Juan Gonzalez, the commander from Paramount American Legion, and then we will go into our invocation from Reverend Grady Jones from New Commandos Baptist Church.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Juan Gonzalez, Commander for Paramount American Legion. Everybody's already up. Hand over your heart, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor.
May we pray. Eternal God, our Father, our Maker, our Creator, God, may come before your presence, thanking you for another day. How blessed we are, Father God, to be in a land where we still worship you in spirit and in truth. All the violence and the craziness going on in the world, Father God, you still keep this city in your perfect divine will. Pray, Father God, for continuance this city council, Father God, do those things which build this city and to help your people, Father God. And just notice all women on the council meeting, Father, keep them in your perfect divine will. The women can have power too, but let them not forget about us men. Pray for our city as a whole, Father God, every resident, every household that keeps on your will. Pray for our nation as well, Father God, because our nation needs your help, your support. There's so much violence in our country, Father God, but you alone can solve it. Pray for those less fortunate we are, our sick and our shut in, our bereaved. Those who are falling by the wayside, help us to be an encouragement to them, Father God, to know that you will make a way somehow. Again, you invite your president in this chamber hall tonight, Father God, keep the city in your perfect will. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Grady Jones, for that invocation. Okay, can we go ahead and get a roll call of council members, please?
Councilmember Aguayo.
Here.
Councilmember Guillen.
Here.
Councilmember Lemons. Vice Mayor Quer Stallings.
Here.
Mayor Olmos.
I am here. Okay, we'll go ahead and move over to presentations. If I can ask my council colleagues to please join me down at the podium. Hello, everyone, and tonight we are recognizing some special members of our Paramount community. At this time, first, I would like to thank Juan Gonzalez, commander of the Paramount American Legion Post 134, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. The American Legion is the country's largest veterans service organization. The local post is at 7550 Somerset Boulevard, and meetings for members are held the second Tuesday of each month. Juan has joined us in honor of Veterans Day next week. Speaking of that, the city is holding our own veteran celebration and dinner on Saturday the 13th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Paramount Park Gym. I please ask that all residents please share, look at our social media, and please let us know if there's any family members that you have that would like to be invited. Just please look at our website and make a reservation. So at this time, if I can ask Juan to please come up and please take a photo with the council. Juan, I'm sure you had a big smile under that mask, okay? So tonight we're going ahead and we're going to be presenting the Mayor's Award. Would Tony Manos please join us? You're already getting an applause, and I haven't even spoke about you yet, right?
Where do I go?
You're right here. You stand right here next to me. So now it's my great pleasure to give the latest Mayor's Award of Excellence to Mr. Manos of Domino's Pizza. Tony is actually a remarkable success story. He started with Domino's in 1987, earning minimum wage as a pizza maker. By 1990, he owned his first franchise within the chain. He opened the Paramount store in 1995 and located the main office for all of his franchises here in Paramount in 1999. Today, Tony has an amazing 82 Domino's in California, Illinois, and South California. We can go for some Domino's pizza right now, South Carolina. That shows his expertise and achievement as a businessman. But where Tony really shines in our community is how he contributes. For starters, he has served on the board of directors for the Paramount Chamber of Commerce for the past 7 years. He also donates to chamber function to support our business community. He has a major financial sponsor for the Paramount Educational Partnerships College Scholarship Program. But as you can probably imagine, his major way of giving back has come in the form of free food. Domino's is the king of delivery, and Tony has delivered stacks of free pizzas, tons of free pizzas, miles and miles of free pizza pies, to just imagine everybody within our community. He's actually given back for the city's back-to-school events, adaptive recreation programs, Halloween hootenanny dance that Tony provided the pizza for. During the pandemic, Tony gave pizzas to our seniors, to our police and fire departments, and to the local hospital staffs. On a regular basis, he donated pizzas to Paramount Unified School functions so that students and clubs and youth groups can sell them by the slice to help with their fundraising activities. He gives pizzas to the homeless, shelters, and hundreds of free gift cards to schools and church groups so they can provide to their families in need. All this is just a sample of his menu of what he has been doing in our community. Tony has described Paramount as a diverse jewel with a given heart, and the more he has gotten involved and given, the more he has received and grown. The food he has and his staff make offer nourishment to our bodies, pizza, and the support he supplies to our community feeds our souls. For this reason, I am pleased to honor Tony Manos with the Award of Excellence. And what I did want to add before I give this over about Tony is he always gives opportunity. If there's anybody that is looking either for a position somewhere or just needs that extra help, Tony would never say no. And for that, God bless you, seriously. There you go.
Do I have to keep the mask on? And thank you very much. It's awesome and amazing to be recognized. I don't do things to be recognized, but it somehow just comes about. I did want to recognize my wife, though. My wife, Mandy, over there with that. She's my biggest and best supporter and brings out the best in me all the time. So, hi, Mandy. Yeah, I started with minimum wage pizza maker back in the '80s, and I flourished in Domino's, and I'm completely grateful and appreciative of all the opportunities I've been given. There's a few times in my business career where I thought I was going to fail, and in business, if you're running out of money, you're probably going to fail. So over the years, I received help. Commitments from friends, family, local businesses to keep me going. And this was back in the early 90s. And it stuck with me because there was a few times when if I didn't get that help, I wouldn't be standing here today, at least not as Domino's. I've never forgot that. So I'm always looking to pay it forward. It's kind of my way to say thank you in an everyday sense. Pizza's a fun food and people love that. And it's kind of easy for me, but in my heart, it's even easier. As Mayor Olmos mentioned about opportunities, I'm really proud of our business to where all my staff is people that started like me. They work through the system, they've become excellent at what they do, they've turned their part-time minimum wage job into a career, they've got families, I've seen them get houses, and I'm really proud of that. And it's still going. I thought, hey, this is gonna gonna run out eventually, but actually it's kinda got a new start now. So, that's always been a part of us. A year ago, March 12th, 2020, that was when the pandemic started, when we were told to close our businesses and shelter at home. I was visiting stores with some of my admin staff and some Domino's corporate people, and we were hearing reports that we're gonna have to close. And I was out in I have 45 stores here in LA County. So we were out in the communities and we were asking ourselves, gee, what are we gonna do? Should we close? It really wasn't clear. And then we found out a couple days later that we were an essential business. And I said, all right, we're essential business. Last year and continuing into this year has been a time. I think I've seen everything, but this last year or so has showed me more things than I ever thought I would see. But it was in a great way. Our business was buoyed by the pandemic. The delivery became the hot item, and that's what we do. So our business more or less exploded. We had to do a lot of special things for our employees to keep things going. But in the meantime, I'm a citizen too, and I watch the news, and I can see there was a lot of people suffering, and so the giving just ratcheted up big time. And it became easier than ever to give and give and give. And here we all were kind of going into this time last year thinking, all right, it's all be behind us. But here we are a year later, and it's still continuing, and the giving part keeps going. And I'm very pleased about doing that and having the opportunity to even stand here and do that, because I'm so fortunate that I wasn't a business that had to close, and you know the story from there. So anyway, here I am, taking up all your time. And thank you for this piece of cut glass. It's real nice. And thank you. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, and I need to call out Peggy, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. She was recruiting me and giving me a lot of hard time years ago. And you remember. And every year around the carnival time, it's like, hey, you need to get involved in all this stuff. Well, I finally got involved, and here I am, and thank you for getting me started in that. So I wanted to give you the credit for bringing me onto this city here. So thank you all. Mandy, thank you for being here with me, and this is really nice, and I feel really great about this. Thank you so much. Come on now. They won't even see your face. Everybody, give her a hard time. Give her a hard time.
Okay, well, my next two friends come up, Cindy Scovard and Vicky Kafer. So November is National Home Care and Hospice Month, when we salute the millions of nurses, home care aides, therapists, and social workers who do so much for the patients and families they help. These individuals serve more than 5 million Americans annually. Home care is often the preferred method of healthcare delivery among the disabled, the elderly, and the chronically ill who want to live independently in their own homes as long as possible. This allows families to stay together and offer greater health dignity and comfort in our communities. In Paramount, we've been very fortunate to have Pathways Volunteer Hospice providing compassionate care and services since 1985 to families living with illness and loss. Their programs include the following: volunteer caregiving for the frail elderly and chronically ill, hospice care for patients and their families experience terminal illness, and bereavement counseling and support for children, adults, and families in grief. And all of this is at no cost. With us today, as I mentioned, our friends who will be accepting our proclamation is Cindy from Pathways, Executive Director, and Vicky, the Associate Executive Director. And I just have to say, myself and actually Juan Garza, who's sitting in we actually were honored to sit on their board and just give so much back. And like I said, I'm so honored to be able to give this proclamation to you guys today. Absolutely. So here's your proclamation, and would you guys like to say a few words?
Say a few words. We have a pretty long elevator speech. I've been coming here to visit the city of Paramount and their elected officials for 26 years now. So I've seen a lot of things come and go, and I've seen the community grow and flourish. And it has been our honor at Pathways to be part of the caring for this community. I remember being so nervous standing in front of them when we were doing our proposals and saying, I wish I could tell you I can project, hundreds of kids going to camp or something like that. But it's like we take care of people at the most vulnerable times of their lives, and we are honored to be able to do that and to be welcomed into their homes and to become part of their family. So Pathways does take care of folks for the full circle of life, and from your children in your schools to your older adults who are infirm to families struggling with a loved one with a terminal illness. We kind of, as Richard Marassi used to say, Cindy, you guys run in like the fire department. You just run into the situation and you figure out what's going on, triage it all, and then you kind of bring everybody together and solve the issue. And we like that. You'll find that I'm starting to say that a lot because Pathways operates in things outside the box. We're solution-oriented. And I'm so grateful for our board of directors that we've had over the years who give us a lot of latitude to do what's right first and worry about payment later. And so thank you to the city of Paramount, who have been a big supporter of Pathways for 36 years. And again, we've been honored and proud to be part of your community. So thank you.
So would Alicia Tamaya Carrera please join us? So November is National Tobacco Awareness Month. About 34 million Americans, adults, still smoke cigarettes. A lot, huh? Thank you for the mask. Smoking remains the single largest preventable cause of death and illness in the world. No matter your age or how long you've been smoking, quitting improves the health both immediately and over the long term. Giving up smoking is a journey that can be hard, but you can increase your chances of success with a good plan, support, counseling, and medications. This month's observation coincides with the American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout that is on the third Thursday of November. It's an opportunity for people who smoke to commit to healthy, smoke-free lives, not just for a day, but year-round. Alicia is Program Coordinator of Tobacco Control and Prevention for the Adventist Health Glendale Foundation. The foundation has been actively conducting virtual workshops and distributing anti-smoking educational newsletters to our community. At this time, I would like to provide you a proclamation, and please let us know. I know you've been all over the city of Paramount. You've been very integrated. You came to our coffee with the mayor, as a matter of fact, to come and speak to us, and I appreciate you for your time. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this proclamation for National Tobacco Awareness Month. If you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of City Council and members of the community. This is a great honor. We have been educating the community on the dangers of tobacco and tobacco products, including vaping. For the past 3 years during this time, Our team built a partnership with the Community Service Department, and through this partnership, we have been able to provide over 1,000 informational packets to the after-school program and led 30 educational presentations at the senior center and adult school. Our team also had the opportunity to participate in several community events, including the farmers market. During our time, we have also received support from the Paramount School Unified District, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Paramount Care Foundation and their food distribution program. We are proud to say that we have reached thousands of residents with the help of the community. This is a good start, but we must continue to advocate for our youth and prevent them from accessing tobacco products. Once again, I want to thank you for this honor. And I would like to thank you for your continued support and continued support of the Community Service Department. Thank you.
All right, so that's all of tonight's public presentations. Again, we just want to thank everybody, each and every one of you who make a difference in our community. Thank you, guys. Okay, next on the agenda, we have City Council public comment updates.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. We do have one public commenter from the October 19th City Council meeting. That was Mr. John Selby. Mr. Selby had two concerns. The first one was with property owners in his neighborhood adding additional units to their properties, thereby creating more density and its impact on parking. In response to that, staff, namely Planning Director John Carver, met with Mr. and Mrs. Selby to discuss their concerns regarding housing. Mr. Carver explained that Governor Newsom recently signed two bills into law, SB 9 and SB 10, which take away the city's control on housing regulations, and that these new laws take effect January 1, 2022, and are in addition to the state's other housing laws that encourage accessory dwelling units and thereby creating more of an impact. Mr. Selby then also reported suspicious activity involving people in his neighborhood getting dropped off and picked up, and expressed concern with street racing in his block. As a result, staff, namely Public Safety Director, Ms. Adriana Lopez, reached out to Mr. Selby regarding this public safety concern, but she has not heard back from Mr. Selby as of the date of this report. And with that, that concludes the City Council public comment updates from the October 19th Council meeting.
Thank you, John. Okay, at this time, we'll move over to public comments.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we do have two public comments in person. We do have one that is for agenda item number 8, and we will take that one following the report for item number 8. But we do have one for general public comments, and that is Mr. Abelardo Jacoba. Mr. Jacoba?
Good evening, City Council. I'd like to know what the survey findings were based on your last meeting, since I couldn't make it to the last meeting, but since it was a receive and file, if I recall, based on the video I saw. So what is the survey findings, one? Number two, has it been completed as we speak? Another thing, will my public records be a request that I placed a couple of weeks ago be completed for tomorrow, as you stated in the email, Heidi? Don't know if you have everything completed or not, but you did state by November 3rd. Another thing is, what are the corrections based on the plans that you had minor corrections based on the plans that came back from the architect. Where are we at with that? I haven't even got any phone call or whatsoever. So I want to know what that is and when the submittal plans came in. As for a neighbor of mine that couldn't make it today, she's continuing with her patrolling. She's got images again, and this time they're blocking my driveway. Not hers, mine. And I get home from work late. So where Adriana is regarding the patrolling, I don't know. So I think we need to start doing our due diligence.
Mr. Jacobo, can I just confirm, survey findings, can you just,
Well, based on that, you said last time is there's whatever the survey will mark out there with the property lines, because you're currently encroaching into my property.
oh, so this, okay.
Yeah.
So
That's regarding the
based on
property.
that, where are we at?
Yeah, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I can, if I may, and Mr. Carver will be contacting Mr. Jacobo tomorrow to give him an update on the survey.
Great.
And then Ms. Luce will be reaching out to Mr. Jacobo as well tomorrow to give him an update on the request for
Great,
public
records.
records. And then Ms. Lopez will also be in touch with Mr. Jacobo as well as the lieutenant to discuss the parking issues that he's having in the neighborhood.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Jacobo, for your comments. Well, that is it, right? We can move on to,
Yes, ma'am, that's
all right. Here, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent calendar, and I will go ahead and entertain a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second. Lemons.
We have a motion by Quer Stallings and a second by Lemons. Can I please go ahead and get a roll call?
Councilmember Aguayo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Quer Stallings,
Yes.
Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to new business. Our first item is actually a public hearing for resolution number 21034. So do you want to go ahead and give a report first, and then we'll go to the speaker?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Yes, this is a comprehensive presentation on the city's water rates and the proposal to adjust them. Back in May, you heard a very detailed presentation about the financial condition of our water system. This report was given by experts in the field who are also joining us on Zoom tonight. The financial picture at that time that was presented to you was not pretty. A detailed plan, however, that would improve our situation was also presented, and it featured a 5-year phase-in of an increase in water rates and a readjustment of the whole water rate billing structure. Just to keep in mind, our rates have not been raised in 5 years, and our water rate billing structure has been in place since the 1980s, so long overdue for refinement there. As you'll hear, we feel that the water rate request increase that staff is proposing is not only fair and equitable, but is absolutely necessary in order to continue to provide safe, clean drinking water to our community. The presentation that you're about to hear was presented to the public at 2 community meetings during the month of October, as well as at all the commission meetings. In addition to that, ratepayers received several notices about this matter. So with that, I will turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Andrew Villalpando, who will walk you through this presentation. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Yes, as John just indicated, this marks the conclusion of a rather long, comprehensive examination into our water utility, which obviously is owned by the city. On the line this evening are 2 individuals who were central in this water study. Doug Dove and Abigail Seaman from Bartle Wells and Associates. I'll talk about their firm in a moment as we dive into the presentation. This presentation is intended, it's going to be pretty in-depth. We're going to go over a lot about our water utility, what the rates are, but more importantly, what the current financial situation is of our Paramount Water Utility. So just to kind of give you an early preview of what this presentation will be about. So the Paramount Water System, it's obviously owned by the city. That makes it a publicly owned water utility. This is beyond what's on the surface, it's obviously different than a privately owned water company or even, other water districts, which are wholesalers in the water business. Being that it's a publicly owned water utility, it does have many regulations that we have to stick to and abide by, which I'll dive into a little bit more in depth as the presentation goes on. As John mentioned, this is just, these bullet points right here are just a quick overview of where we're at, but I'll dive into each of these a little bit more in depth. Overall, as a publicly owned utility, the Paramount Water System is funded through water rates. That is a requirement by regulations. These water rates here in Paramount, we have not changed them since 2016. Also, the billing method, otherwise known as the rate schedule, this is the formula in how customers are billed. This has not changed in 20 years, at least. Currently, the water fund is operating in deficit, and I'll explain that in a moment in detail. And as I mentioned in opening, this is all a capstone into summarizing the comprehensive examination that was conducted by Bartle Wells and Associates. Bartle Wells, and again, Doug and Abigail are on the line to answer any technical questions about the study that they gave you back in July. Bartle Wells is a public finance auditing firm, so they have many years of experience, and this is kind of a culmination of all of the findings that they concluded. So why are we here today? Today, we wanted to provide you a refresher of the study that was given in July and its findings, the recommended actions to correct some underperformance and incompliance issues that were identified in this study. Also wanted to give you an update on the Prop 218 process, which is the California process in which cities must abide by when, or utilities must abide by when modifying their water rates. And ultimately, we wanted to give you just an overview of the water utility in general. So much of this information that you're about to hear this evening has already been presented at our community meeting, so this is going to be kind of a recap of that as well. So we'll start off a little bit with a look into our water utility. So here what you'll see is just some general information about our water utility system. We provide an average of 6 million gallons of high quality groundwater daily to our Paramount customers. It's locally sourced from massive aquifers about 1,600 feet below the ground. Our water goes extensive testing before it's delivered to the faucets and before their customers receive their water. It involves pumping from water wells, distribution through city-owned water pipes, and water customer service, such as billing and account management. You'll notice right here, there's on the right-hand side, there's just some different stats. We manage over 7,500 water accounts. There's about 130 miles of water pipelines. There's over 2,300 water meters that the utility operates, about 1,400 fire hydrants, 50 drinking fountains, and 3 water wells. If I bring your attention, I'm going to circle this right here. Hopefully you see it. This right here so we do have 3 water wells that the city owns, water wells 14, 15, and 16. 14 is currently out of service. It was put out of service due to an abundance of caution for testing. Water well 15 is currently active, which is that one water well that's identified right here. And well 16 is currently under construction. We hope to have that up and running early in 2022. And hopefully what you'll gain from this presentation is how vital it is that we get that water well 16 up and running as soon as possible, and of course, as safely as possible. So what's the current situation? Currently, it's no surprise. Water is one of the scarcest commodities in the world. California obviously is no exception to that. On average, a person in the United States consumes about 400 gallons of water per day. This is just between showers and all the other water needs that you go throughout your day. The sobering reality is that the cost to pump, deliver, and manage water is increasing as the years move on. We aim to supply a ratio of 95% to 5%, and let me explain that. What we aim to do, the Paramount Water Utility, our water system, optimally can operate if we can pump locally 95% of our groundwater and import 5%. That is the optimal ratio in order for our water system to operate efficiently. Currently, however, we're at a 55-45 ratio. We're importing 55% of our water and locally sourcing only 45%. And as this presentation goes on, you'll understand quite the gravity of that situation and how important that is. Importing water costs twice as much as sourcing it locally. And this is pretty much one of the most direct contributors as to why our water utility is in a deficit. But there are other issues as well, as the study found. This 55 to 45 ratio, this is a temporary measure. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's optimal that we try to get as close to a 95 to 5 ratio. But this is a temporary measure that we had to take in the last couple of years, and it's not a permanent strategy by any means. The cost increases have put us about a $3 million deficit, as I mentioned, and within 1 year, our water revenues will not be able to cover the expected water operating expenses. That doesn't mean that water is going to stop flowing, but there are consequences that could occur if we do nothing. So before we move on, I want to just give you a quick overview. I'll spend very little time on this slide, but I just wanted to introduce you, if the public, for anyone that may not know, how the different funding sources that the city uses. This is just a brief tutorial. So like a primary checking account, the city generally uses our general fund to pay for most of our public services. Things like public safety, public works, recreation, things like that. This is generally, our general fund receives revenues from sales tax, a small portion of property tax that's distributed from the county, but other miscellaneous charges. And the general fund is exactly what it sounds like. It's something that can be applied generally to all residents, 100% of the residents in Paramount. Restricted funds are generally used for very specific purposes with highly regulated and uniform purposes. We receive these funds through special taxes, special rates, grants. These are the things like your Prop A, Prop C, Measure R, those kinds of funds. They have very strict rules. Now, our Paramount Water Fund, this operates much like a business. This is what we call an enterprise fund. You'll typically see enterprise funds operated in cities that maybe operate like golf courses, local performing arts theaters, airports. These are generally known as enterprise funds. They can only receive funding through rates, grants, and loans that are specific to that purpose. So just to kind of recap what our enterprise fund is, or what our municipal enterprise fund is we are required to pay for our operations through rates. It operates somewhat like a business. It does have being that it's a municipal water company and an enterprise fund that's operated by the city, it has very strict regulations that prohibit use of general funds. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but our water utility doesn't serve 100% of Paramount residents. And so that's just kind of a quick synopsis, a basic explanation of why the water fund, it can't necessarily pay for general fund type things. So here is a map of our water utility and who it serves. You'll notice on the left, everything shaded in blue are addresses or locations within the city that are served by the Paramount Municipal Water Utility. There is a small portion of our city up north that is served by a private water utility company, Golden State Water. On the right is a map of our 130 miles of pipeline. This will, if you kind of, I won't come back to this slide, but it's important that you kind of just understand, especially the map on the left, that there is a portion that is not served by the Paramount Municipal Water Utility. So what do the water rates pay for? It really comes down to two things, supply and delivery. When operating a water utility, we aim to not only supply water, which means actually pumping it from the ground and as I mentioned, as a temporary measure, actually purchasing it to import it, but also delivery, the distribution of it through our pipeline system, fire hydrants, and our employees. So here you'll see this kind of illustrates for you about 59% of our water expenses go towards the supply of water producing it, and 41% to delivering it, distributing it. So this is just a general list of our expenditures for FY21 and FY22. Let me draw your attention to this right here. So what this represents is the final conclusion or one of the biggest conclusions from our water study. It was made very apparent that based on current trends, water expenses are projected to increase over the next 5 years by at least $368,000 per year. What this blue bar right here shows is our water expenses actuals from, our water expenses from this current year. This is what was adopted. You'll notice that blue bar is extremely or extraordinarily high. That is due to the construction expenses for our water well 16. You'll see that it drops off next year. And that's because, again, water well 16, we're hoping to get online and going, and so construction expenses will obviously decrease or go away. But expenses overall over the next 4 to 5 years will increase undoubtedly. And this was all presented at the July meeting. And yeah, so we'll move on. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one other thing that's what I wanted to note here. What the blue bar represents, it shows, yes, our water well 16 construction. These include loans that were taken out to fund water well 16. This is a pretty common practice in utilities. These are big capital expenses that are difficult to afford and typically are not pre-funded. So it is pretty common. In this case, we took a loan out from the state to build water well 16, it being a critical infrastructure for our city. So there is, I think, something to keep note of as we talk about water rates and our water expenditures is our debt service toward repaying these loans. So our current water rate schedule, I mentioned this is kind of our billing method, as it were. The actual rates haven't been updated in 5 years, and the schedule itself hasn't been updated in over 20 years. The water rate study conducted by Bartle Wells Associates revealed that it made it very apparent that it's an overly complicated rate schedule. I'll show you or illustrate that for you in a moment. It's not consistent with national standards. It has something called seasonal rates, which is something that is very outdated. It's an old-fashioned way, a billing model that's used, many years ago, and it couldn't really sustain, if unchanged, our local water system. So let me give you just a quick illustration of the inequity of our current structure. So right now, if you have a water customer or two water customers, both using a 5/8 inch meter line, which is our most common meter line in the city, two identical customers, one who lives in a house and one lives in an apartment. Assuming that they use 55 units of water, about 41,000 gallons of water in a bill cycle, which our billing cycle is about 2 months. Same meter size, same units of gallons of water. You're going to have one customer paying more than the other simply because our schedule puts these two different homeowners or residents into different tiers, and that's the way our current structure is set up. So we're aiming to make this a little bit more equitable and obviously something that we can use long term. I mentioned that the 5/8 meter is our most common meter. If I'm going to use this little pen again, so if I bring your attention down to the bottom, overall we have 7,500 total accounts in the city. Of all the 7,500 accounts, 73% of them are 5/8 meters. So this is the majority of our customers. And this is just a breakdown. 73% are single families, but all in all, 5,400 are 5/8 meters. Drilling a little bit further down into our 5/8 meters residential account users. In this case, the formula is, I've been mentioning units, different units of water. 1 unit equals 100 cubic feet of water, which is the equivalent of 748 gallons of water. 75%, so 3/4 of our 5/8 residential account users use under 30 units of water per bill. This is under 30 units of water per every 2 months. This is very, very important. In the following slides, we're going to talk about this tier structure as it relates to the units of water consumed. So this is what the proposed water rate adjustments are based on everything that we've learned so far from the study. Bartle, Wells, and Associates determined that this rate structure would start to turn around that $3.1 million deficit over 5 years and get us into an area that is a little bit more comfortable, but also something sustainable, and ensure that we can continue to operate our water utility effectively. The current rate, this is a adjustment. These are actual costs based on 20 units of water for the average 5/8 residential unit. The current rate for a 2-month bill is $51.71. What we're recommending is the proposed rates that Bartle, Wells, and Associates recommended as well, which is a 5-year adjustment with the first year beginning January 1st, 2022. In this particular case, for a 2-month bill, using 20 units of water for a 5/8 residential customer, it would increase $4.77. In year 2, it would be $4.96, and then subsequent years, a similar increase. There's a lot of numbers here, but this is the entirety of the water rate schedule. There are copies in this room available at the back, but also this has been made available to all of the Paramount water utility customers. You'll see on the left, this is all the different diameters of inch of pipe or meter size, and the different rates. We will continue as part of our proposed rates, our discounts for seniors 62 and over. This is something we are currently doing. And we will continue to do as we're recommending. It's a 20% discount for all seniors 62 years and over. It will be applied bi-monthly every 2 months. Existing residents who are 62 years and over will automatically receive a discount, while new residents who are 62 years and over will be verified at our customer service desk. And we always do, our customer service staff always do make an effort to try to update this as regularly as possible when customers do come in to pay their bills. So up until this point, we talked about rates. For a moment, I want to talk about our water tier consumption. Sorry, this was supposed to be animated, but so let me draw your attention here first. There's kind of a lot going on here. I'm going to bring your attention here to the left-hand side. This is what our current water tier table looks like. And what this says is this column right here, sorry, I'm trying to circle it for you. This shows what our current seasonal water tiers look like. As I mentioned, they're very, very complicated. They change every 3 to 4 months, and you're changing different tiers on a seasonal basis. What we're proposing, and what is more in line with the national standard, and equitable so that we don't have a scenario where one water rate customer is subsidizing another, is you have a more simplified tier units. So this is what we're proposing right here, what we're recommending. And as I mentioned in this previous slides, it was an important statistic that 75% of our residential water customers use less than 30 water units per bill. So what does that look like? Okay, so this top portion right here is a sample. This is your single-family residential sample bill. The base charge is highlighted right here. This is what current is, and this is what our proposed would be for a base. And right here, I've been using 20 units of as a calculation in many slides. This is a very common, when taking surveys, this is a very common unit of measurement when doing bills. But what I wanted to show here is this is an actual sample bill based on 30 units. And the reason why I say 30 is because this is the maximum, given the proposed rate, this is the maximum amount of money before you enter into Tier 2. And so very rarely, as I mentioned, do we have residents exceed this amount. It's not common. Most 75% of our water utility customers use less than 30 units of water. So this top portion was single family. This is what a bill would look like for seniors, and this is what our multi-family residential would look like. Delete that. In case you were curious, this is a comparison of how our water rates look. I also, on the left-hand side, we also included what our median household income is here in Paramount when comparing our water rates. You'll notice that we're on the lower tier of our median household income on the left, and on the right shows where our proposed water rates would be. I'll draw your attention just to the left-hand side. You'll notice there's a couple of cities at the bottom of that, and then if you look on the right-hand side, where they rank. So this is just kind of some perspective when comparing ourselves to other cities in the area. I mentioned that 20 units of water is a very common and conventional unit of measurement when comparing and pulling surveys. This is where we rank based on 20 units of consumption. This survey was taken on June 15, 2021. Currently, we're at the lowest. Among this survey, we're in the lowest. Our proposed would bring us to second to lowest. You'll notice that red line, right? That red one, that's the Golden State Water. That serves a portion of our Paramount residents. So what is the urgency? As I begin to conclude my presentation, securing a stable water revenue now is very, very important for the future of our water utility. It increases the ability for us to extract more locally sourced water, which is, as I mentioned, less expensive. It moves us away from purchasing that very, very expensive water, which right now we're at a disproportionate ratio. It would allow us to maintain high quality water through constant water testing and treatment and ongoing preventative maintenance. It would address minor and major water pipe repairs in a timely manner. And securing stable revenues now would meet our loan obligations, as I mentioned, which is our debt service for some of these larger capital improvements. You'll notice the picture to your right. This is an actual picture from the city of Los Angeles. This is an area that's operated by the LADWP. This is a sinkhole that occurred as a result of a broken water main from aging infrastructure that was not handled. And this is certainly something that we would not be immune to, and I think emphasizes the importance of ensuring that we can maintain a safe but also up-to-date and updated infrastructure. So what happens if we don't adjust the rates? If we don't adjust the rates, we would be out of compliance with our debt service, impacting our ability to apply for future loans because our credit rating would risk taking a hit. If we don't adjust the rates, we could not adequately address critical infrastructure repairs, as I just mentioned a moment ago. If we don't adjust the rates, water revenue needed to sustain the local water system will deplete in approximately 1 year. It does not, if we don't address the rates, it would not provide for a sustainable local water system to operate. If we don't adjust the rates, we could potentially eventually lose local control, whether that means going to another public entity like the county or the state, or potentially even a private water company, which may result in higher water rates. As I wrap up, I wanted to just highlight some of the city water, some of the relief efforts we provided to residents over the last year, especially in under the shadow of COVID-19. We did provide hardship forbearance for Paramount Water customers. We did not do any shutoffs. This was a decision that was made early on in the COVID-19 pandemic to not conduct any shutoffs, and then eventually the state ended up mandating that water shutoffs were not allowed. So we were at the forefront of that. We did waive all late charges, and that's something we're currently still doing. And then we did distribute over $116,000 in rental and mortgage relief through the CARE Act, I think it was, which also did apply to, or could have applied to, utility payments. This is a new program, the California Arrearage program. This is through the state. This is something that was just adopted this past state budget. The city did apply, and we did receive funding for it, thankfully. What this program essentially does is between the dates of March 4th, 2020 and June 15th, 2021. That's kind of the height of COVID. It's going to basically make whole again, pay off any delinquencies or debts for all water customers. So we applied for it, we got the money. We have 214 delinquent water accounts in this period. It amounts to about $44,000. We received notice yesterday that we are expected to receive the money, so we have about 30 days to start reaching out to all of these customers to make sure that they get their paperwork in. So this is another relief effort that I think is important to note. So as I mentioned, this evening we are recommending an adjustment to our water rates and water schedule. As part of that process, we are required to follow very strict guidelines that the state provides through Proposition 218. As part of these regulations, we're required to send out public hearing notices 45 days in advance. We did that on September 11th, 2021. As of this moment, we have not received any written protests. This is just a listing of some of the different public outreach we've done regarding these adjustments. We gave presentations to all city commissions, which include the Public Works Commission, Planning, Community Service, and Public Safety Commissions. We held 2 community meetings, one on October 15th at 6:30 and one on October 30th at 10 a.m. Both of them were at Progress Park Auditorium. Just a recap of the timeline of events that got us to this point. On July 6th, you heard the first rate study presentation at a city council meeting by Bartle Wells Associates. September 11th, we not only mailed out the public hearing notices, but we also published an article in the Around Town newsletters that went out to all residents. In October, throughout the month of October, we did community educational meetings as well as meetings with the commission. Brings us here to this evening where we are conducting a public hearing, and then if approved, the rates would take effect on January 1st, 2022. So in summary, the study found that expenses are increasing each year. The rate schedule is overly complicated and outdated. The water fund is currently $3.1 million in deficit and increasing year over year. Without any changes, we risk the default on our debt obligations and unable to afford to operate by the end of the year. Some corrective actions that were proposed and what we're recommending this evening is to modify the rate schedule to adjust our Tier 1 consumption rates from 50 units to 30, and to implement a 5-year phased-in adjustment to our base rates to turn around the deficit. In summary, the rates establish fair water rates for all customers based on their water usage and valve size. It makes it more equitable so that we don't have one customer subsidizing another. It simplifies the schedule and meets Prop 218 regulations, and it aligns with our principles and values in trying to promote an environmental sustainability and water consumption more responsibly. And with that, that concludes my presentation. It's recommended that the City Council conduct a public hearing and read by title only and adopt resolution number 21034. Of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have as we go along. Thank you.
So John, can we do council questions and then move over to the speaker and then to public hearing?
Why don't we follow carefully the motion sheet that we have here in front of us, since this is a Prop 218 hearing. There is time for discussion on item number F on the motion sheet. So let's go ahead and start with A.
All right, so at this time, we will go ahead and open this up to the public hearing by announcing that this is the time and place for the hearing of protest or objections to the proposed water rate adjustments and schedule.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, this is to announce that the notice of the proposed water rate adjustments and notice of this public hearing have been given pursuant to the provisions of Article 12D of the California Constitution under Prop 218, and the affidavits of publication and posting are on file in the city clerk's office. Furthermore, this is to announce that the number of written protests received that were equal to 0. So we have not received any written protests.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and call for public comments or any further written protests, and we'll go ahead and ask to hear for those in favor at this time. Seeing none, we will go ahead and ask to hear from those opposed.
We do have one speaker card here. I assume this is based on what is written here, that they are opposed. Ms. Talon Thibodeau? Thank you. Ms. Thibodeau, if you
Ma'am,
could-
can you press the button on the microphone, please?
Thank you. Good evening, community and council members. I'm here to oppose the water rate increases that will start this January and be raised every single year for the next 5 years. Also, I'm sorry, I didn't hear about the 2 community meetings. I'm just going off the letter that was mailed, so. I feel it's unwise for the city of Paramount to commit to increased rates each year for the next 5 years during this uncertain time when people are actually still struggling just to even pay their rent. Paramount is full of longtime residents, and according to recent census data, nearly half our residents are under 18 and over 65. And even with the senior discount, seniors will still be impacted, and they're on fixed incomes. A large portion of our residents also deal with financial insecurity and with excessive water rate increase year after year, or I should say after 5 years. I feel like all 5 years is excessive. Even rents will raise for many of our residents as landlords pass the costs on to their tenants. Furthermore, property taxes also pay into our water services. And lastly, the water rate survey only includes their first year increase. So I feel like it was a little misleading to residents when they look at the increase. It's not the full increase of all 5 years. It's only what's going to be happening next year and not subsequent years. And so a little more transparency, I think, would have been helpful for residents. And so, in conclusion, I just feel, look, a moderate increase may be reasonable to cover rising costs. That's just business sense. I understand that. I just feel it's an excessive increase that unfairly burdens our poor and working class community during an already difficult season. I feel that's poor timing, and it's not kind to our community. So I just recommend you take it back to the drawing board and advocate for and represent your vulnerable community and reconsider a reasonable compromise, maybe longer timing or something just, it seems excessive. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Madam Mayor, so that was, I believe, the only protest that we have, and so I am now reporting as to the percentage of written protests filed. Again, we had no written protests. The one oral represented less than 1% of protests.
So at this time, can I open up to discussion, or do I need to close the public hearing?
Madam Mayor, right now I would close the public hearing, and then you can open up the discussion.
All right. With that said, you guys, I'll go ahead and may I take a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So move, Lemons. Second, Aguayo.
So we have a motion by Lemons and a second by Aguayo. Can I go ahead and get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo.
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cuellar Stallings. Mayor Olmos.
Yes. All right, colleagues, I'll go ahead and open it up for discussion. If you guys have any questions for Andrew at this time, before we go into the motion.
I don't have any questions, Madam Mayor, but I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
Which is just that I know that we actually began discussing this issue several years ago and have had, several incidents happen. We were sidetracked by, a city issue with air quality, and then, of course, COVID hit. And so we're just getting further and further behind the 8 ball. And it's unfortunate, but water safety is paramount, and safe water and supply depends upon our infrastructure and our ability to deliver, and that maintenance and that delivery costs money. We've always, as the chart showed, kept at the low end of the rates. As a matter of fact, feel sorry for that small portion of our Paramount residents that are served by Golden State that have to pay so much higher rates. So I would just like to say that this is a discussion that's been going on for some time and has been postponed several times to try to mitigate the issues that our residents are going through. But if we don't take action, I'm afraid, as indicated in the reports, we could be taken over by entities that are going to charge excessive rates, like Golden State, or we're not going to have the funding that we need to maintain and build the infrastructure to have a safe water supply. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Lemons. Any other comments?
No questions, but I do have a couple comments. I had the same concerns you did about seniors, the timing. So I attended the 2 water rate meetings I was informed in June or July what the intention was. I met with a person to further explain from WRD. I met with the director from Central Water Basin to explain. I met with our own Adriana Figueroa, who is the director of our own water department here. And I had a lot of questions, and those same questions that you had. I even had John Moreno with a list of questions similar to what you were asking, take it back to the consultant to see, what was practical, what would work. And I have to say that after meeting with everybody and really drilling in and saying, hey, the timing isn't right, I have to conclude that this is really the only alternative that we have if we don't want to, as Councilmember Lemon said, have private water, take us over. And what I did like about this whole recommendation is that we still remain one of the lowest compared to all the other cities around us. The fact that we had to shut down a well that had detected PFAS at a very low level, but we wanted to make sure our community stayed safe. We closed it down, and the cost of that was a raise in having to import water from Central Basin. So I would rather keep us safe, know that we have the proper infrastructure. We're still the lowest among the other cities. And I was a skeptic, but after doing my due diligence, I feel confident that this is the way to go. And I just wanted to reassure you in that.
Thank you, Councilmember Guillen. And I think I just want to kind of iterate on that, because I think we all did our studies. We all went through and did some investigations. I mean, I actually pulled out, we need to think about the future. And I think my question was too also is that we were looking at, we paid $351,000 to Central Water Basin for water. And how do we know if that contract's not going to be going up anytime soon as well? The other thing is we also pay the WRD to pump. That's another cost we need to think about. So I'm in agreement with you. I think we all did our homework. And I'm actually looking at the notice as well that went out. And I do see a 5-year term of how much the water will be going up. I'm not sure if you have that one, but it was a public hearing one, and it kind of shows over 5 years. I think the other side. Comparison, okay. So anyways, but thank you for that. I just wanted to show that. I think we need to start looking for the future and kind of determine, perfect, I think you said it perfectly, Councilmember Guillen. Any other comments from colleagues? No?
I'm in agreement.
All right. With that said, you guys, I will go ahead and entertain a motion.
So moved. Second, Lemons.
All right, so we have a motion by Cuellar Stallings and a second by Lemons to go ahead and adopt resolution number 21034. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cuellar Stallings,
Yes.
Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew, for your presentation. Appreciate that. All right, we will go ahead and move on now to our oral report for proposed middle-income housing projects.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. For the last few weeks, I've been mentioning to the City Council some proposed plans that are going through the works right now to convert the Enclave apartments that are on Paramount Boulevard to what is called middle-income housing. You'll hear in just a second from two guest presenters what middle-income housing is. But in order to convert the Enclave apartment complex to middle-income housing, the city will need to be involved in this process. And we have, as I mentioned, a couple of guest speakers with us tonight who will go over the process. They'll discuss with you a little bit more about our involvement, and also will provide you with a profile of the Enclave apartments. From our perspective, it's a great program, we feel, with many benefits aimed at helping out the missing middle population who we see as not being able to afford to buy a home but are not eligible for low-income affordable housing. So with that, I will first turn it over to our first presenter, Mr. Ben Barker with California Municipal Finance Authority. Ben?
Hey, Ben, can you press the button? There you go.
Okay, yeah, you told me to do that, sorry. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members for the time we have tonight to talk about the missing middle. I'd also like to thank the city staff. They've done an amazing job working with us, and I'm working to get people up to speed. We've had the city manager, assistant city manager, and community economics director, and the and the attorney going through the presentation and what the CMFA's ask is. So tonight we're here, we're going to talk about the missing middle income. It's also known as essential housing or workforce housing. There's kind of a lot of names that are affiliated with this. But there's a lot of reports, there's a lot of things in the news about the missing middle and how to house the missing middle. So first of all, affordable housing, the deeply discounted affordable housing in California is dictated by the federal government on the amount of bond allocation that can come in. So the deeply discounted affordable housing can be funded with vouchers, there's HUD loans, there's tax credits and bond allocation. These housing projects are currently right now 4 times oversubscribed. So if you're starting a project today and hope to get it done, you're waiting in line for about 4 years right now and will not be able to do that deeply discounted affordable housing projects. And when you talk about affordable housing, that typically means area median income. The acronym AMI is always associated with 60% area median income and below. So you look at the population, HUD does this overlay map, and they say this is the area's median income for a family, and they do it by single, 2, 3, and 4 4-person family and kind of extend it out. And they say this is the income for this level here and down. For that deeply discounted affordable housing, we're not talking about that tonight. There are many grants, subsidies, there's federal grants, there's federal requirements, there's state, and there's even local. CMFA is the largest affordable housing issuer in the state. We typically do more deals than the entire state combined. And we believe that all of the money that's associated that goes with that deeply discounted should remain there and not be put into a project like this. So what is missing middle, essential housing, workforce housing? These are typically first responders, nurses, teachers, city staff, people that are in that middle bracket. And the reason that this middle bracket of residents are having such a difficult time is there is a lot of programs for the deeply discounted, and then there's programs for getting into homes, first-time home buyers programs. There's other ways of getting into the houses, but there's this middle part of California that's being left behind, and there's no subsidies. There's nothing really available for them. And the other problem you have is market rate apartment projects are being scooped. Oh, sorry, we're on the next slide already. Market rate apartment projects are being scooped up by market rate buyers, and we're seeing upwards to 10% rate increases if someone comes in, the new person that comes in, a 10% increase from the old resident. And so what we're looking to do is create a middle income housing project, which would be housing, again, the first responders, teachers. Really the city has discretion at who they like to see in this project. So the next slide is, okay. So the program is designed to allow the middle income to live and work within the community, or to live and work within the community. We all know that commuting is a big problem. Some people drive an hour plus to get to their job. We're looking to be able to have people live within the city of Paramount and work within the city of Paramount. We don't want people from Riverside driving over and filling up this project, and we would hope that the residents that would stay here would also work in the city of Paramount. This project and the proposals that we're talking about, there's no city funding. We're not asking for any of that. We are not asking for any state, local, or federal funding. We're not asking for any grants or anything like that. In addition to this is what the CMFA is doing, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about the project. The CMFA, as a joint powers authority, is looking to buy the apartment project. We are not looking to maximize profits. We're looking, again, to create essential or affordable housing, or middle market housing, I'm sorry, and enter into what's called a public benefit agreement with the city. And at year 15, the city really has sole discretion on the project, which means if the project's sold anytime from year 15 to year 30, any of the equity that's in the project, CMFA does not take any of it. We do not give any of it to our associates, BLDG. The city is the full recipient of the equity that would be built up in the project, and we'll go through that in a little bit more. But then again, we are looking to solely create middle markets and essential housing and not maximize profits here and raise rents and kick people out. So in order for this to happen, the CMFA is the governmental agency We also bring on a project administrator, which is Matthew Ellis, which is BLDG Partners, who will actually kind of run the project for us. CMFA, we do a lot of financings, but we don't run a lot of apartments. So we need to bring on partners for that. FPI is the property manager, and then Jeffries would be the underwriter of the project. Just a little bit of background about the CMFA. We were created in 2004. We've done all types of projects from $1 million goodwill financing to the $1.7 billion LAX People Mover project. So we see a wide range of projects. We do typically $3 to $4 billion of bond issuances per year. We have over 325 cities, counties, and special districts who make up the CMFA. These financings, again, create all kinds of stuff. We're looking for jobs and healthcare and education. And then the other factor is the public benefit side of CMFA. When we do a financing, when CMFA does a financing, we give 25% of our fees back to the host municipality, and then we share an additional 25% of our fees with a nonprofit located within the city. So just at a glance of who, again, the CMFA is, we've done about 1,000 transactions, about $26 billion in financings throughout the state of California. We're the #1 affordable housing issuer in the state. We do more than the entire state combined, meaning all cities, counties, state agencies, and other JPAs together. And again, the CMFA, since the inception, we have been very public benefit oriented. We've donated back $27 million to over 925 nonprofits, and then obviously 290 municipalities. So the CMFA SFA, the Special Finance Agency, to date in California, there's been about 29 middle market income projects that have been done. There have been several, they've been split pretty evenly from Northern to Southern California. I've listed a number of cities that have participated close to the city of Paramount. There's a lot more, but I just thought I would try to find the ones that are close. In process, CMFA has about 14 middle-income housing transactions, and then we have about 150 deeply discounted affordable housing projects in process.
Now we're going to start yo-yoing a little bit. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, city staff. It's been a pleasure working with you all over the last couple of months to first introduce the program to you and then work with city staff to really fine-tune the program that works for you and work through the documents that Ben's been providing to John and to the city attorney. BLDG, we're an owner, operator, and developer of affordable market rate and also single-family housing, primarily here in Southern California. We work with Ben on these particular projects in three different ways. First of all, we source the project, and then we do all the due diligence to make sure that this is a project that has been well built, that has been well maintained, and that we can maintain into the future, because we're fiduciaries for the city and for Ben at CMFA. We also then, we act as asset managers for the property, so we will hire the property manager that oversees the property and its operations on a going forward basis. And we also will implement capital inspections to make sure that there's no deferred maintenance or that there's any improvements that need to be made. And we will bid and oversee those projects. So we've been doing this again in Southern California for the last 12 years. We look at this very much as a partnership between us and the city and us and CMFA. We are not looking at projects up in Northern California, for example, under this program, because we want you guys to be able to pick up the phone and call us if there's a problem. We're doing a project similar to this in the city of Orange right now. We had our approval hearing a couple of months ago, and there they came to us and said, hey, there's a piece of land next to the property that we want to buy from the county, and we want to put a park in there. And it so happens that we have some expertise with one of my partners, Matt Jacobs, where he's designed parks before. So we're working with the city to help design a park there, which we think will also benefit our residents and also the greater city of the city of Orange. So again, if you guys have ideas, we want to work with you, not just to close on this transaction, but work with you to maintain this property and to help the city benefit from our experience and knowledge in our particular field.
All right. So, so the solution is, what are we asking the council to do? First, the CMFA, we are looking to issue government bonds to purchase a market rate project. Once we purchase the market rate project, we will then self-restrict the rents through a recorded regulatory agreement. But just to be clear, the city will have no liability, financial obligations for the bonds. This is recorded in the regulatory or in the resolution, as well as a no liability letter. And we've had a number of other tax council opinions that have also been shared with the city attorney, and the city attorney has been able to view and review, review all the documents that we have sent over about the no liability to the city. So once the CMFA gets in and we buy a project, what we look to do is self-restrict the units for the rents. We would like to put them in buckets of income. So you would say 61 to 80% of the area median income. We would have a third of the units would be restricted to those people that make that amount of money. The next third of the units would be the 80 to 100, and the next third would be from 100 to 120. So we'd have three different buckets of rental income. The tenants would be placed into this. The new tenants that would be coming in would be reviewed, and then they'd be able to get a discount on the rent. And we'll go through the actual discounts in place of what they would receive immediately. And the big key to note is that the tenants that are currently in place, there will be no displacement. So nobody's getting kicked out of the current project. Nobody's being moved. If they don't income qualify, then they just continue to get to pay the rent that they are currently paying. It doesn't affect them at all. So once the CMFA buys the project, we will then go through the tenants. We'll look at it, and simultaneously as us buying the project, we will have recorded a regulatory agreement at the county for as long as the bonds are outstanding, which is about 30 years. So we will, through no money of the city and no grants or deeds, we will buy the project. We will self-restrict ourselves, record it at the county, have a regulatory agreement for that entire period of time, and then be able to create affordable housing that way. The city benefits multiple ways. Let me see here. So the way the city is able to benefit is we would ask the city to approve a resolution authorizing and directing the execution of a joint exercise power agreement, which is another JPA agreement. The city will in no way be exposed to any financial liability by reason of its membership. There's no fiscal, legal, or impact to the city. And I know the city's going through bonding issues right now with the water, so this also does not affect your credit rating, your borrowing, or bonding capacity. The city is not participating in the financing whatsoever. The city is participating in the formation of a joint powers agreement. So from there, the city manager, the resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into what's called a public benefit agreement. The public benefit agreement essentially dictates how the city wants us to control the project. At year 15, the city has full right, and they could tell the CMFA, we don't like affordable housing anymore, go sell the project market rate. We'd have to do whatever the city tells us to do. But year 15 through year 30, we are in full control by the city. At the end of the project, once 30 years goes by, if nothing happens, and the city could tell us to sell the project, we would then sell the project. All proceeds would come back to the city, and it would repay any lost property taxes to the city. From there, it would repay county loss of property taxes and any other taxing authority property taxes. There is another tax opinion that we've already shared with the city attorney. The school districts will also not be impacted by any losses of property throughout the life of the project. So really from there, it's just the city, we work with the city for the life of the deal. At the end of the deal, the city gets full recourse of the project. At the disposition of the project, CMFA does not take any equity out of the deal. It is all handed over to the city. So the same goes with Matt. I had brought that up earlier, but we're not doing this to buy a project and then jack up rents and make as much money as we can. We're trying to do the opposite here. So there's a few other slides that just kind of go through tax credits and other things that could typically be going into this. None of these items will be going into this project. We're not looking for HUD. We're not looking for tax credits, grants, or loans, or funds. But that's essentially what we're asking the city to do is first, allow us to come back at a further time and hopefully, well, number one, hopefully be able to answer any questions tonight. Number two, come back at another meeting and approve a resolution to enter into a JPA agreement with the CMFA. And then that resolution would also allow Mr. Moreno the opportunity to review the public benefit agreement. And that public benefit agreement is the binding agreement essentially that gives the city control of the apartment project. From there, we would look to go out and issue bonds, and we would issue bonds to purchase the project, and then we would, after that, record a regulatory agreement at the project, who, for the next 30 years, it would become an affordable or middle income project for the next, for that period of time. But I think it's probably important to kind of go over the actual project. We've talked a little bit about the financing and what we're asking the city to do, but I'll have Matt come up and kind of go through a few slides of the actual project and then the benefit to the residents if the financing is able to move forward.
This is the fun part, the sticks and the bricks. So you all know the project, I'm sure. It's at the corner of Paramount and the 105, and it recently had a new paint job, and so it really stands out right now. So the history of the project, it goes back to 1991. It was developed then as an 80-20 deal. 80% was market rate, 20% was affordable, and it maintained that requirement up until 2005, I believe it was, 2015, sorry, when it was converted by the then owner back to 100% market rate. They invested about $2 million in the property to make improvements to it. The following investor or owner, they put about $3 million into it to improve the waterproofing at the podium level and make some improvements to the units. And then the current owner has put about $9 million into it. Some of it you see, which is obviously all the new painting on the facade, and some of it you don't, like work on the interior of the elevators, some other building systems upgrades, and then also some security measures, because this property hasn't always had the best history of maintaining a secure environment for its tenants. So there's a new security system there, a big camera system that is throughout the property. Rather than having a keyed entry, it's now a fobbed entry. So when a resident goes in, the manager knows exactly who's going in, and if it's someone we don't want in anymore, we can just turn the fob off, versus a key which can be copied and can go anywhere and everywhere. And then there's also security at the property, which we also will maintain on a going forward basis, more as an abundance of caution than a requirement based upon our due diligence of what's been happening at the property recently. As well as the work that's been completed to date, we look to do some work on the property going forward. Our anticipation is that the city and CMFA will own this property for 30 years. And so we want to make sure that you have a first-class asset, that you are unable to differentiate between this is a middle-income asset and a brand new or a similar vintage market rate asset at any point in the future. So we set aside the capital reserves to make sure that the physical plant and then also the condition of the interiors and then of the units and of the amenities there remain in a first-class condition. So we've set aside about $8 million that we will put into the property over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. Firstly, a new roof. And we can't just do a cool roof, which is kind of the cheap way of doing it that lasts for a couple of years and gets you by, and then you have leaks. This will be a full tear off of the existing roof, and we'll have a new roof that will be warranted for 30 plus years. The AC units, half of them are original, half of them are 5-10 years old. We plan to go in there and do a wholesale replacement of all the AC units. We will also continue to renovate the units on a turn-by-turn renovated units. So we will continue with that business plan, and we will make sure that that's completed. There's also some cosmetic upgrades that we will be making, kind of basically taking over from the current owner to improve the path of travel and so you have better parking for the potential residents that visit the property. For those that you have been there, you'll know that if you're a potential resident or a visitor, there's nowhere for you to park. You have to park in the fire lane next to the gas station, or you park on the street and risk getting sideswiped by a car driving by. We're creating a vestibule in the parking garage next to the gas station that allows up to 20 visitors to come there and can park in there with a gated perimeter inside of that, which protects all our residents' cars. But this allows visitors to come, visit the property in a safe environment, and then there's a path of travel that's going to be redesigned to get them to the leasing center. So there's multiple things that we look to do to improve the property from where it is today, so that, again, it remains this first-class asset that you, the city, and CMFA are proud to own, and that we're proud to operate. We're working with FPI, as we mentioned already. They are a firm that we've worked with and we continue to work with on a lot of assets we own here in California. There's only really FPI and Greystar, another large management company, who manage these middle-income housing properties. And so we think it's important to work with someone that has experience, because the day we take over from the property, we look to reset qualified tenants' rents to these lower levels. So as Ben mentioned, the rents will be put into 3 buckets: 80% and below, 100% and below, and 120% and below. So if you're in a 1-bedroom unit and you moved in 2 months ago, your rent is roughly $2,100. If you qualify at the 80% level, and that's you're in the apartment because you've gotten someone to co-sign for you, you wouldn't have ordinarily qualified to live in the apartment under the current leasing standards, your rent will go from $2,100 down to $1,650 day one. So you'll save $450 in rent. So that monies can be spent on a myriad of other things. But if you're in the 2-bedroom, your current rent is $2,750, and you would be at $2,145, so a $605 savings. Again, we don't displace anyone. If people love the community and love the location, then they can remain in the unit, and they will continue to pay market rent until they choose to leave. We don't push them out. We don't try and displace tenants. But the new tenants that are brought in, we will qualify to live in here based upon these standards, and then also based upon the specific requirements of the public benefits agreement. So if you're an advocate for the nursing community here, school teachers, etc., then that's who will get the first opportunity to live in these units, not someone that's, again, coming from a beach city to live in Paramount. So that's overall where we look to reduce rents from where they are today by 21%. And then further, we can't, by statute, we can't increase rents more than 4% a year. So even though we're seeing rents in the market go up 10% year on year, these rents, once they're set, they can only go up at a maximum of 4% a year. So then what does this mean for the city in terms of, we've kept saying, it's funny how these charts have come out this way, and yet in the printout they're different. But what does this mean for the city in terms of the net benefit to the city and the equity that the city receives in year 15 going forward? So I'll just describe this chart because I think it's kind of difficult to decipher on that screen. But we valued the property based upon where it would trade today, given the amount of income it's generating. And then we said, okay, this is the value of the property. We're going to deduct from that the bonds that are outstanding, and that comes up with how much equity is left in the deal. Then we're going to deduct from that the accumulated property taxes that are owed back to the stakeholders. And then what's left is the equity that's yours, the city, to do with as you please. And so in year 15, that amounts to $66.8 million. If in 30 years you hold the property through the maturity of the bonds, and so the bonds are completely paid off, based upon that, the net equity benefit to the city is $254 million. So that would be $254 million in your pockets to do with, again, what as you please. You could do a myriad of things with that, and you could do a myriad of things with this property at that point in time. You could keep it as it is. You could partner with a nonprofit and do more deeply targeted housing. I mean, there's a lot of different options you have, but you have a lot of money to decide what you want to do with the property and how you want to spend that. I'll give it back to Ben because he's got some, as well as that large check that you get when it's sold. Ben has some other items to talk about.
So I think just kind of wrapping this up here, programmatically, CMFA from the beginning, from 2004, has always done this, and I brought this up at the beginning, but CMFA, again, through the bond issuance, we share 25% of our issuance fees with the host municipality. Then we would work with the city on where to donate the additional 25% of our fees that we'll bring in at closing, and it can be at the sole discretion of the city which nonprofits they'd like the money to go to. Again, I had shown that all the fees that ever come into the CMFA, 50% of the fees always go back to nonprofits or cities and counties. So we're continuing that on with the middle market program that we have. And then the one last thing, this kind of came out weird on the slide. I don't know if it's weird on your computer screens or not, but the CMFA during this thing, the way that these projects are financed, and I think part of the questions is how are you able to do this compared to a regular market rate developer is there's a few key factors. The CMFA is a governmental agency, and governmental agencies are able to borrow at cheaper and less expensive ways than market rate buyers are. So typically we can borrow at tax exempt rates, which are much lower than market rate rates, and we can borrow for a longer period of time than a market rate borrower can do. Additional to that is our borrowing costs are much less expensive because we are going out and selling bonds to PIMCO life insurance companies, very sophisticated bond purchasers, where market rate developers typically raise a bunch of cash, which is really expensive for them to borrow as equity for their project. So CMFA can borrow very inexpensively, and it helps us compete. And from that, we also, because we're a governmental agency, we do not pay property taxes. So the first bullet point here is the concern should be the city is going to lose property taxes. There is a memo that has been already sent over to the city attorney, and it's from Myers-Nave, that shows that the CMFA will pay the host municipality a fee for any lost property taxes year over year on a year-over-year basis. So the city will not be out any lost property taxes for the life of the project. The next big concern is, for me, is always the school districts, and through, again, another letter that was sent over to the city attorney that he's received and agreed upon, or I don't know if that's the right word. Sorry, I'm not an attorney, but he's reviewed is the school district is not out any property taxes, and they won't be shortened by any of the property taxes not going from this project. So those are kind of the last two bullet points. The last slide is really an opinion letter from bond counsel, who reiterates through all the bond documents that the city is not participating in the financing, the city's credit rating, bonding capacity, your debt or there's no debt or liability on the city, and it doesn't affect you morally or fiscally. It outlines again that through the resolution and the other documents that are approved, that this is the CMFA's debt, and that there's, again, no adverse opinion on the city. And Jones Hall is one of the leading bond counsels in the state of California. They do probably 50% of the affordable housing deals here in the state of California. ORIC is also, who is the other major bond counsel firm in the state of California for affordable housing, is also acting as special issuer counsel for this project. So I think that really kind of wraps it up, and we are happy to take any questions.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, if I can also wrap up too. The purpose of this presentation tonight is just to familiarize yourselves with what this concept is. It's very unique. It's very comprehensive. I didn't want to throw a lot at you tonight in terms of having to approve something. So just want you to digest it, be able to ask questions to these two gentlemen, and then think about it. And then at the next meeting, I will have before you, if you're in agreement, a resolution to move forward with this type of project. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. So I am going to open it up for my colleagues, see if they have any questions. Okay, I have a couple, if you don't mind. But thank you for talking about the parking situation, because I think that's all of our heads about that parking on the streets over there. So when the 25% of the issuance fee, when does that happen? Does that happen at the 15 or 30 year when 25 goes to nonprofits instead of the city?
It happens at bond issuance, which would if the timeline just worked out perfectly,
Okay.
we'd come back to the next city council meeting, we would have an approval, then CMFA's board approves the resolution, or approves a resolution and amends the JPA.
Okay.
From there, we would price the bonds. A few weeks later, we would sell the bonds. So hopefully, mid-January, it would be the closing, and that's when that would happen.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty quick. The other thing is, does help our arena numbers as well, right?
This doesn't.
It does not help our arena numbers.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it does not help arena numbers. This is exempt from arena. If
Got it.
going into next year, so I personally worked on the RENA legislation that just went through, that was approved. RENA will happen for projects that are 80%, for units that are 80% and below, starting in the legislative cycle of next year. So only a small fraction of the units could potentially ever qualify for RENA numbers.
Okay.
But it's just the timing of the legislation and when we got it approved.
Okay. And my last question is, are we restricted to one agreement? When the JPA comes out, I know what you guys do is you have to find a property and then work with it. So is like the city limited to one? Like if we do this, what if we find another opportunity that's in our city? Are we able to do another one?
Great question. So the JPA can be good for as many projects as you want to put in there.
Okay.
Each project, though, would have to come back before city council, and you'd have to approve another public benefit agreement. So the JPA is really just a few pager. It's really boilerplate document that's just the same kind of thing as most other JPAs. It's the public benefit agreement that really gives the city the rights and the authority to approve us doing that. So CMFA, if I arbitrarily found another project and wanted to do another deal, we can't. We have to come back before the city each time and ask for an approval of a new public benefit agreement.
Got it. Okay. That answers. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
My only question is probably a really simple one. As far as the rents go, you had some percentages in there. Do you know what the middle income that you're making these percentages based on?
Yeah, you mean the current in-place rents right now?
What you propose them to be?
Sure. You have the chart.
Yeah, so they're based upon the county area median incomes. So this is Los Angeles County, and so we take the HUD calculated area median incomes that they use, and then it's the rents are based upon 35% of the area median income, and then divide that by 12, and that's how you come up with your rent for each unit.
So is that what I'm looking at on the screen? That's
Correct.
more or less the proposed
so
rents?
the three buckets that we talked about. If you're looking at where it says 80% AMI,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the units that would fall in, we're thinking, just for easy numbers, there's 100 units, just to make it super easy.
Okay.
There would be 33 units that would be at 60 to 80% area median income, 33 that would be 81 to 100, and then 33 units that would be 100 to 120. So right now, in that 80% AMI bucket, the rents that they're paying they're average about $2,100 a month. When the CMFA purchases the project, the rents will then drop down to, I can't see that far, I think it's
1656, yeah.
So the rents would then drop down, as soon as CMFA purchases for anybody that's in place right now.
Oh, so for anybody who's in place, not for the middle income people looking to come in, like you were mentioning,
So
first responders,
middle income
nurses.
people would be technically qualified, anybody above 60% AMI. So anybody that's at that 61% AMI bucket
Mhm.
to 120%, that constitutes middle income. So it's that range of bucket, because you could get first year police that do well, but someone that's been on the force for a number of years is probably going to top out. So, first year firemen, or I don't know, first few years of firemen, first year teachers, or beginning teachers. But if you have a teacher that's tenured, they're not going to income qualify. They're
Right.
not in the middle income.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the other important thing to note, though, is there have been cities that have said, we want to focus on first responders. We want to focus on seniors. We want to focus on other things. There are ways within the public benefit agreement that we can always give the first right to anybody that lives in the city of Paramount. And then if you wanted first responders first, would also get priority in a unit before anybody else would.
Perfect. All right, do we have any more questions? If not, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Thank you. That was a receive and file report, correct? Yes. That was just oral report. Okay, we're moving on to item number 10, which is an approval. Use of citizens option for public safety COPS grant funding fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is something we do every year, and our Public Safety Director, Adriana Lopez, will handle this item. Adriana?
Thank you, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. As John mentioned, this is an item that we bring before you every year. I'll give you some background. The Department of Justice has provided what we refer to as a COP grant, also known as Citizens Option for Public Safety. And we've received this grant since fiscal year 1996-97. After 26 years of receiving this grant, the city continues to use these funds to fund a variety of police activities, which can range from increasing personnel and also to purchasing equipment. For fiscal year 2021-22, the approved budget for this grant is $101,000. This is an annual grant that does not require a local match, and there is no longer a requirement to hold a public hearing, but we are bringing this before you. Our intention is to continue to provide additional coverage or personnel to address loud noise complaints via overtime, and also to address any type of crime suppression that's needed, and to address any type of assistance when we have a high volume of calls, and lastly, to address any crime trends in a timely manner. We do anticipate to use the entire fund, which is $101,000. And with that, it's recommended the City Council authorize staff to use the state COPS grant funds to pay for the expenditures that we just discussed. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Adriana. Do we have any questions? If not, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
So moved, Lemons.
Second, Aguayo.
So we have a motion by Lemons and a second by Aguayo. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cuellar Stallings,
Yes.
Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Next item is award of contract for Paramount Pool replaster and deck repairs.
Yes, Madam Mayor, believe it or not, it's been 15 years since we replastered and remodeled Paramount Pool. As we all know, the pool gets a lot of use from our own swim programs, youth swim programs, and family programs, all the way up to the high school swim and water polo teams. So it's definitely in need of replastering and other repairs, and our Public Works Director, Adriana Figueroa, will tell us more about this and tell us about the bids that came in for this project. Adriana?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Back in 2006, the Paramount Park Pool underwent significant renovations and expansion that included competitive swim lanes, a zero-depth entry area with spray features, the replacement of the deck surfacing, the installation of new shade shelters, and the upgrade of the entire pool lighting system. Now, as John indicated, fast forward 15 years later, we have significant cracks in the plaster. A section of the lights are non-functional, and the pool deck is worn out. Funds were included in the fiscal year 22 budget for a comprehensive repair project. A portion of the funds for the design came from a California Natural Resources Agency grant through the Office of State Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon. However, the majority of the funding for the construction portion of the project comes from our Measure A annual allocation for parks. As you can see from the images on your right, there is significant deterioration of the pool and deck areas. This project will include the replastering of the entire pool. Repairs will be made to the pool lighting, and the entire pool deck will be replaced. Additionally, the depth of the pool needs to be adjusted at 2 locations in order to meet current LA County code regulations, and the depth needs to be lower within the main section of the pool to accommodate diving into the pool. And lastly, the deep end section of the pool needs to be raised to accommodate the new water slide. Bids for this project were opened on October 5th. 3 bids were received. The apparent low bid was submitted by California Waters in the amount of $1,362,657. Bids are analyzed by the city engineer, and that analysis includes a review of proposals for accuracy, completeness, reference checks, and verification of appropriate licensing requirements. Our city engineer reviewed the documents submitted and confirmed that for the apparent low bid, licenses are valid and active with the state of California, that the contractor is registered with the Department of Industrial Relations, that the workers' compensation insurance coverage is current, that the contractor is not listed on the state's debarment list, and that the listed reference confirmed positive and successful project completions. Additionally, the design engineer from Jones and Madhavan for this project, review the proposals and concur with the city engineer's bid analysis findings. The design engineer also confirmed that the licenses from the apparent low bidder, California Waters, are sufficient to complete all fixed work on the project and has previous experience with construction of projects designed by them. The city received 1 protest letter from the second lowest bidder. However, as indicated previously, upon an extensive review of the bids received and the findings of our city engineer and design engineer, the protest letter is unsubstantiated. This project is time sensitive as we are coordinating the construction with the school's activities calendar and anticipate having this completed by March of 2022. The base bid from California Waters is $422,757 over the engineer's estimate and budgeted amount of $939,900 and will need to be adjusted during the mid-year budget process using additional Measure A funds and capital reserve funds. Just as a side note, we have noticed increased costs for construction materials and labor in the recent months, as well as supply shortages for certain materials. It is uncertain if this is related to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we are experiencing this not only with our large capital improvement projects, but also with our operations and maintenance smaller service vendors. So with that, it is recommended that the City Council award the contract for the Paramount Pool Replaster and Deck Repairs Project to California Waters in the base bid amount of $1,362,657, and authorize the mayor or her designee to execute the agreement and direct staff to make the necessary adjustments to the mid-year budget. That concludes my presentation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Adriana. Do we have any questions for Adriana at this time? Hearing none, okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second, Lemons.
I have a motion by Carrera Stallings and a second by Lemons to award the contract for Paramount Pool Replaster and Deck Repairs. Can I get a roll call votes, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cuellar Stallings?
Yes.
Mayor Olmos?
Yes. Next item, we're moving on to receive and file accounting support services for Paramount Youth Sports League.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our youth sports leagues are an integral part of the fabric of our community. For a number of years, the City Council has felt this way and has created policy and provided funding to assist all of our youth sports leagues. Here's just another example of how we plan to continue in this tradition of supporting our youth leagues. With that, I'll turn it over to David Johnson, our Community Services Director, to walk you through the item. Dave?
Thank you, John. Mayor and council members, our youth sports leagues provide an important opportunity for our young residents to find a variety of sports to play. So they play, obviously, a very integral role in that in our community. These leagues, though, are run by community volunteers. They have a passion for sports, but they're not exactly or necessarily trained or skilled at financial reporting. So as we begin to apply the requirements of our program partner agreement, we have identified that our youth sports leagues will need some assistance in meeting the financial reporting requirements of the program partner agreement. We also discovered through this process that they will also need assistance with the maintenance of their 501c3 documentation. The program partner agreement does require that each league maintain a good standing with the IRS and the state franchise tax board regarding their 501c3, and that then they provide financial reporting and information each year for review by the city and the Parks and Recreation Commission. While the program partner agreement does indicate that this information will be submitted to a third-party financial auditor at the city's expense, we do realize that these leagues will need additional assistance on how to organize this information. To that end, we are employing the services of an accounting firm, Beach, Freeman, Lim, and Cleland, LLP, to provide the following assistance. They're going to provide reporting research and a template for each organization to follow. So essentially what they're going to look at is their inflow of revenue, their outflow expenditures, how to best to organize that. They'll give them a template through QuickBooks or Excel, whichever they're most comfortable with, and give them a way to basically track that information and be able to produce a profit and loss statement. They will then actually sit down with these groups and train their members to actually do this accounting appropriately. They will then provide a mid-year check-in, similar to what we do with mid-year budget, to see how actually it's all working. And then at the year, they'll provide a final review and a closeout. That information then we'll be able to take to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a annual review of how each league did. We did, in this process, discover that there were some issues with everyone's 501c3 applications, or status, I'm sorry. Paramount Girls Softball is currently not listed with the IRS, and they've been suspended with the Franchise Tax Board. So in this process, what this accounting firm will do, will assist them to get them back to status with both organizations, and then assist them each year with the proper filing of documents. Now, as we reported through a communication with the city manager's memo, Paramount Girls Softball is also an organization that is currently struggling in terms of it does not have currently any insurance for their girls. As such, then we've had to cancel their field use permits because they do not have insurance. We are talking to USA Softball. USA Softball has indicated that they have yet to make application to participate in a spring league. So they're not going to be playing games. So again, using the program partner agreement, we'll be sitting down with that league, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and figuring out a path forward. PYSO, currently, PYSO and West Coast Rebels are actually, when it says their status is revoked with the IRS, that just means that they went through 3 years where they have not submitted what is called their 990 forms. So that's a pretty easy fix that the accountant can help them with. And then PGAA, their status, as we discovered, was revoked back in 2010. They're also suspended with Franchise Tax Board, and the accountant will get them back up to status. So in terms of cost, we will incur between $6,500 and $9,000 in one-time costs to get each league's accounts analyzed and their appropriate board members trained. This will also include assistance to get them up to date with the IRS and Franchise Tax Boards. We anticipate an annual cost going forward after the one-time cost of between $4,000 and $6,000 each year. That will provide us a mid-year check-in by the accounting firm and an annual closeout each year, as well as assisting each league with their 990 paperwork filing. The Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed this item at their October 20th meeting. They did not provide, they were in agreement with this. The contract accounting services are being procured under our section 3.12.080 of the Paramount Municipal Code, and that allows us to procure professional services such as this without a bid process and allow the city manager to execute contracts for such services when under $40,000. This report is being provided to the City Council for information, and we recommend the City Council receive and file this report. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have any questions for Dave at this time? Dave, really, I did have one question. The 6,500 to 9,000, is that based on how many leagues you have? So if a league goes away,
it's based on the number of leagues, and it's also based on how much time you may have to spend in.
Okay.
I mean, to give you an example, I mean, if one organization has their accounting pretty squared away, it's going to take less time.
Okay.
We know some of these organizations are doing it out of a shoebox, and that's going to take more time.
Okay. So we have no questions. We will go ahead and receive and file. Thank you, Dave Johnson. Okay, next item, we have an approval for proposed 2022 city special and holiday events schedule for 2022, huh?
I know, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, we've just started with our holiday events for 2021, and yes, we already need to start thinking about and planning for our special events for 2022. This helps us to order items and schedule things to make sure that the events are ever so successful. So with that, I'll turn it over to our management analyst in Community Services Department, Ms. Rebecca Bojorquez, at the podium. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. As John just mentioned, before you tonight is the proposed list of city special events and the holiday event schedule for calendar year 2022. Beginning in January 2022, we'll be kicking off the new year with the rebranded Friday Night Paramount. This event will occur on the first Friday of the month, unless the first Friday falls on a holiday or is combined with another event, as you'll see later in the presentation. There will be 3 events in spring 2022. We're looking forward to the return of an in-person eco-friendly fair and in-person pep auction/fundraiser after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID. In summer 2022, we'll be kicking off the season with our annual summer concert series. Our summer concert series will run from July 1st through August 12th. And just a side note, the first and last concert will be combined with the Friday Night Paramount. The Heritage Festival will take place at the beginning of August, and ending our summer events, the Nights Under the Hay Tree are scheduled for Thursday, August 25th and Thursday, September 22nd. Moving on to the fall 2022 events, the Halloween Hootenanny will start the season on Saturday, October 22nd. We're asking to make this an annual event based on the positive feedback we received this year. The Halloween Haunted House and Halloween Festival will take place at the end of October, as they normally do. Following those 2 events, the Vets will follow by taking place the second Saturday of November. And ending the fall season is their Senior Thanksgiving, which will be held on Thursday, November 17th. And to end 2022, our winter events will start with the tree lighting ceremony on Wednesday, November 30th, followed by Santa photos that weekend and the beloved Santa train that following week. Ending our holiday season is the Breakfast with Santa on Saturday, December 10th. The following is the list of annual city co-sponsored events in 2022. These particular events provide the city a unique opportunity to work with our local service clubs and nonprofits to provide additional cultural and community events that provide social outlets for our residents. Particularly, we're asking to make the Back to School Fair and Dia de los Muertos reoccurring annual events. These 2 events were new in 2021, and we'd love to see them offered in 2022. As you saw in the previous slides, December 2022 will be a busy month filled with holiday events and city meetings. We are proposing the following meeting changes. We're asking that we move the first City Council meeting from Tuesday, December 6th, which conflicts with the train, to Tuesday, December 13th. We are also asking to move the Planning Commission meeting from Tuesday, December 13th to Thursday, December 15th. And traditionally, the December study session is canceled. It is recommended that the City Council approve or modify the proposed dates for the city's 2022 special and holiday events, move the first City Council meeting in December to December 13th, 2022, and cancel the December 2022 City Council study session. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any questions for the schedule? No, we're just kind of moving the tree lighting ceremony up a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Right after Thanksgiving, it's right into tree lighting. Wow. All right, you guys, with that, I think we need an approval. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second, Lemons.
I have a motion by Quera Stallings and a second by Lemons. I'll go ahead and take a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Quer Stallings? Mayor Olmos?
Yes. All right. So we're moving on to our environmental sustainability new business, we have none at this time. So with that, we will go ahead and go into comments. We will go ahead and start with our council members. And I will start with Vice Mayor Claire Stallings.
Yeah, start with me. Okay. I have a list.
All right.
Got a little notepad today. Okay, let me put my glasses on. I attended the Relay for Life with Mayor Olmos and Councilmember Aguayo. It was a rainy day. It ended up being a rainy day, but we were able to participate. The city council from Bellflower was there, and also the Norwalk. I attended the Hootenanny, the very first one. I was so excited, I thought I was a little kid. They had everything. They had so many things for the children. They had a photo booth. They had Disney characters. They had games. It was unbelievable. I saw parents dancing with their kids. I saw the Disney characters dancing with the children. And it was a fun, successful event. And I won't miss it for anything next year. And also, I attended the Halloween Carnival with Mayor Olmos, and it was a big bash. That's the word I wrote. There were so many people that you were bumping into each other. And the kids were excited. The parents were excited. I was excited. There were the adults to little babies dressed up for Halloween. It was just a magical night. It was just gorgeous. I also attended the first Dia de los Muertos last night, and our beautiful mayor was dressed up, and it was just a fabulous event. It really touched my heart how many residents and also our mayor did a altar for their families. It was just very touching. And the vendors were also very excited to be at our Dia de los Muertos. But thank you to everyone that participated in helping out with these events. Thank you very much. And I know our kids thank you very much. I do.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With that, we'll go on to my left-hand side to Councilmember Aguayo.
Okay. There's definitely been a lot, going on in our city. I know that for the Dia de los Muertos, I know I've had, some of our residents reach out and just be really thankful and excited that the city has brought this to Paramount. So, it is the first time we're doing this, and I'm sure we can see it. At steady growth just in participants and just the things that we're doing, because a lot of people were looking forward to it and have been really, really excited about this. So the other thing, I want to thank the West Coast Rebels for, coming out and inviting us. I know a few of us went out there. It was so impressive to see so many kids out there. Excited, and when they were telling me about the three different uniforms they have, their away and their home, and then the one that the team, the Division I for their contest, and the way they did that was based on their grades. They all brought in their report cards, and the division that had the highest grades received the pink uniform, that they used. For breast cancer awareness. So that was really, really neat. So I really want to thank them for, coming out. It was really, really special and fun to be out there. That's actually all I have.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Aguayo. Councilmember Guillen?
Just quickly, let's see. I attended the West Coast Rebel homecoming. I had the 10 o'clock, which was 7-year-olds, and they were super cute. They had their little gang faces on. They were all, geared up and ready to play football. They had their serious look on their face. It was so cute to see little 7-year-olds all patted down. It was really cute. And then I went to the water rate meeting, and I just want to say that Andrew and Adriana did a really good job. They had a tough crowd. I think this was the toughest crowd that they had in there since this whole thing was generated, and they answered every question. And I really believe that when everyone left that meeting, they felt, and nobody's ever happy that rates are going to go up, but I think they answered all their questions satisfactorily, that they knew that this is what the city needed to do. So you guys did a really good job on that. And then I attended a housing and development meeting, and it was just a little small group of people, and Clyde was there as well. And although not a lot of people, we had some really good discussions, and I think it went into a really positive direction about what we're looking for within the city. Other than that, pass it over.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Guillen. Councilmember Lemons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to actually apologize to the West Coast Rebels. I was scheduled to do a coin toss and had to cancel on them last minute because I got ill. So my sincere apologies for the late informants of that. And I did stop by the Halloween carnival and got out of the car and did that bumping of elbows, like you said, and then put my daughter and my granddaughter on and went home. So, it obviously was a huge success because there were so many people there. I just took a glance around and said, have fun, call me when you're ready to get picked up. So my congratulations to staff for all of the tremendous events that you're putting on and assisting the residents with and helping everybody have a great time. As always, your first class. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Lemons, and I will end it. A few announcements. I was able to attend the State of the State with Speaker Rendon that was hosted in Lakewood, and the two topics of conversation was housing and education. I also attended the Relay for Life. I think what made it special for me is they did a lap of survivors. And actually my 3rd grade teacher from Our Lady of the Rosary was there as a survivor, and she had asked me to be her caregiver, and I did the first lap with her. So I think that was just very touching moment for me. I haven't seen her in years, so I thought that was really nice. I also had the pleasure of meeting with Senator Lino Gonzalez. She came to Paramount last Thursday. Again, topic of conversation was housing. Big conversation. It was nice to hear, I think, from their point of view, the way they voted and some of the questions that were asked. So I think it was an interesting conversation. And then she also talked about how cities, we were talking back and forth about cities receiving incentives for reducing carbon footprint, which I thought was interesting. So I know businesses are getting it, but cities are not currently getting it. So that was also, that came up. I also met with TAP president this week, April O'Connor, along with Dave Johnston, just to kind of figure out how we can collaborate more between the school district, the teachers, and they just want to be involved in the city. I thought that was great. I attended an event with California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and actually she provided some information, which I thought we should follow up on too, is how cities can request funding for improvements on their cities, which I've never really heard that before, but she did give me her email and cell phone number that we can follow up with her for some of the programs that she's issuing out some money. Again, I want to thank the West Coast Rebels for inviting us. I think we all mentioned that. I do want to say to Parks and Rec, we did attend, the Vice Mayor and I, your Adaptive Recreation Halloween party. That was fantastic. Those kids were just so excited. I saw the videos of them dancing. I had to leave quite soon, but I think you stayed, and I just heard great feedback. Those kids were just on the dance floor. They did not want to go home. So kudos to you guys on that. Halloween event, I did the haunted house this year. Yeah, great job to those kids. I think I ran twice. Dia de los Muertos, kudos to Latina's Art Foundation, to Tefec Sister Cities. They knocked it out of the park yesterday. I think you mentioned it. Residents were just and I'm excited to see what happened tonight. So I think that's all I had. I'll turn it over to you, John, for staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just have a few here. Wow, it sounds like you all 5 have been very busy at events, so that's good. Thank you for the energy. We're going to keep you in that mode during the holidays and stuff, so we have the Veterans Celebration coming up. So we're asking that you please post that on your social media feeds or however you received the flyer today or yesterday from Adriana Hermosillo. Please get that out to as many of your constituents as possible. That'll help us get attendance up at that event. We're currently kind of low on attendance, so we're hoping that we'll get more people there. At the last council meeting, Councilmember Guillen mentioned a violation of one of the metal companies in town, and it caused a deputy district attorney to reach out to her about it. I've heard from a number of you expressing a lot of deep concern about this. So I contacted the deputy DA, and I received some preliminary information. I also reached out to AQMD. They're checking into this, and they'll be getting back to me soon. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll have a conversation with the staff there. In the meantime, I've been consulting with the city attorney on this matter. He will be contacting the deputy DA to obtain the documents that are available as public records, and then he will be reviewing these docs and will tell us what information we can release to the public at this point. So that's that on that situation. And lastly, we had been during COVID, we had been getting a lot of public information out about the need for testing, the need for being aware of your surroundings when you're around other people. Then when the vaccine came, we did some promotional videos on that. Well, we just finished another video, as you know, that right now the vaccine is available to our youth at certain age levels, but they're also saying that those age levels aren't getting vaccinated. So I'm going to show the video. We're going to show the video to you. The purpose of the video is to try and motivate the younger kids to get out there and get the vaccine. So with that, we'll roll the video.
My name's Anaí Garcia. I'm ASB president and I am vaccinated. Are you?
Hi, my name is Daniel. I chose to get vaccinated to assure the safety of myself and of those around me.
Hi, I'm Christopher King and I'm in Paramount ASB. I chose to get vaccinated to help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Andrea Perez and I'm on the cheer team and in ASB and I'm vaccinated. Are you?
Hi, my name is Isaiah Ford. I'm part of the PHS basketball team, and I chose to get vaccinated to protect the loved ones around me and put an end to this pandemic.
Hi, my name is Jose Verdeja, and I'm on the water polo team, and I'm vaccinated. Are you?
Hi, my name is Vanessa Pena and I'm a part of Paramount Softball and ASB and I'm vaccinated. Are you?
Hello, my name is Christian McCoy. I am part of the PHS basketball team. I chose to get the vaccine to protect those around me from the pandemic.
My name is Melanie and I am a part of the tennis team and I got my vaccine to help keep my family safe and to help end this pandemic sooner.
I'm Carlos Rodriguez. I'm on the Paramount football team. I'm vaccinated. Are you?
Hi, I'm Ariana. I'm ASB secretary. I'm vaccinated. Are you?
My name is Diego Lopez and I'm captain of the Paramount High School football team, and I chose to get vaccinated so that I can protect my family from getting sick and the loved ones I have in my life.
There we go. That video will be released on our social media sites very soon, and as well as on our YouTube channel.
Great, thank you. Great video. Got a lot of sports players in there. All right, so with that said, we will go ahead and adjourn our city council meeting to November 16th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Okay, at this time, I'd like to go ahead and call to order our successor agency for the Paramount Redevelopment Agency. Can I go ahead and get a roll call of council members, please?
Councilmember Aguayo.
Here.
Councilmember Guillen.
Here.
Councilmember Lemons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Quera Stallings.
Here.
Mayor Olmos.
I am here. Do we have any public comments at this time?
No, ma'am.
I need an approval for consent calendar.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
So move, Lemons.
Second, Aguayo.
So we have a motion by Lemons and a second by Quera Stallings, I think I heard, right?
Aguayo.
Oh, is it Aguayo? Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo.
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Quera Stallings.
Yes.
Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn to our meeting on December 14th at 6 p.m. Everybody have a good evening, and thanks for all your great presentations tonight.